It's Christmas night, 1996, in Boulder, Colorado. Inside a sprawling Tudor home, a 6-year-old girl named JonBenét Ramsey is asleep in her bed. She's a vibrant child, a pageant queen with a bright smile, loved by her family. But by the next morning, she would be gone, and her home would transform from a festive haven into the epicenter of America's most baffling and disturbing unsolved murder. The morning of December 26th began with a mother's scream. Patsy Ramsey, JonBenét's mother, found a 2.5-page ransom note on the back staircase. It was long, rambling, and bizarre. It demanded exactly $118,000, a number that curiously matched her husband John's recent work bonus. The note, written on a notepad from inside the house with a pen found at the scene, warned them not to contact the police. But they did. What followed was a scene of chaos. Police arrived, but the house wasn't immediately secured as a crime scene. Friends and family came and went, offering support but potentially contaminating crucial evidence. 4 hours, everyone believed this was a kidnapping. They waited for a call from the supposed kidnappers that never came. Late in the afternoon, a detective asked John Ramsey and a family friend to search the house one more time. It was then, in a small, windowless wine cellar in the basement, that John Ramsey made a horrifying discovery. He found his daughter's body. JonBenét was covered with a white blanket. A nylon cord was around her neck, attached to a broken paintbrush handle. Her wrists were bound, and there was duct tape over her mouth. She hadn't been kidnapped. She had been in the house the entire time. The autopsy revealed a brutal end to a young life. She had died from strangulation and a severe skull fracture. The discovery of her body inside the home immediately shifted the focus of the investigation. The ransom note now looked like a potential red herring, a deliberate attempt to stage a kidnapping and mislead investigators. The police began to look at the people closest to JonBenét, her own family. John and Patsy Ramsey were a wealthy, prominent couple. John was the CEO of a successful tech company, and Patsy was a former Miss West Virginia. They had 2 children, JonBenét and her 9-year-old brother, Burke. On the surface, they were the picture of a perfect American family. But as the investigation unfolded, that picture began to crack. Suspicion quickly fell on the parents. The police theory was that one of the parents might have accidentally or intentionally harmed JonBenét, and then staged the kidnapping to cover it up. The ransom note was a key piece of evidence. It was unusually long, and experts noted that its language and style seemed to have similarities to Patsy Ramsey's own writing. She provided handwriting samples multiple times, but the results were inconclusive. Then there was the crime scene itself. Why would an intruder spend nearly 30 minutes inside the house writing a lengthy ransom note on the family's own stationery? Why demand such a specific, relatively small amount of money? There were also no signs of forced entry. A broken basement window was a possibility, but the undisturbed cobweb in it cast doubt on that theory. And a pineapple found in a bowl in the kitchen became a strange, yet critical clue. The autopsy found undigested pineapple in JonBenét's stomach, yet her parents couldn't recall giving her any that night. It suggested she was awake and ate a snack shortly before she died, a detail that didn't fit the family's timeline of events. The media frenzy was immediate and intense. JonBenét's life as a child beauty pageant star became a focal point. Images of her in full makeup and glamorous costumes were broadcast everywhere, sparking a national debate about the sexualization of children and the pressures of the pageant world. The Ramsey family found themselves not just suspects in a murder investigation, but subjects of intense public scrutiny and criticism. They maintained their innocence throughout, hiring their own team of investigators and lawyers to fight the accusations. As the years went by, the case grew colder, but the theories only multiplied. One of the most prominent is the intruder theory. This theory posits that an unknown person broke into the Ramsey home and murdered JonBenét. Proponents point to several pieces of evidence. Unidentified male DNA was found in JonBenét's underwear and under her fingernails. This DNA has never been matched to anyone in the Ramsey family or any known individual in the databases. There was also an unidentified boot print found near the body in the basement. These clues suggest the presence of a mysterious third party. The family's private investigators strongly supported this theory, believing someone with a grudge against John Ramsey might have been responsible. Then, there's the Burke-Ramsey theory, which has gained significant traction over the years. This theory suggests that JonBenét's older brother, Burke, who was 9 at the time, might have been involved. The hypothesis goes that Burke, perhaps angered over JonBenét stealing a piece of his pineapple snack, struck her on the head with a heavy object like a flashlight, not intending to kill her. When their parents discovered what had happened, they panicked and staged the elaborate kidnapping scene to protect their surviving child. Investigators did consider Burke. They interviewed him, and his behavior was analyzed by experts. Some found his demeanor odd, while others argued it was the natural reaction of a traumatized child. In 2016, Burke Ramsey broke his public silence in an interview with Dr. Phil, vehemently denying any involvement and suing a network for a documentary that implicated him. The Ramsey family has always insisted Burke was asleep the entire time and is completely innocent. The case is a labyrinth of conflicting evidence and unanswered questions. Every clue seems to lead down a new path, only to end in a frustrating dead end. Take the flashlight found on the kitchen counter. It wasn't in its usual place and had no fingerprints on it, leading some to believe it could have been the weapon used to cause the skull fracture. Or the garrote, the strangulation device made from a paintbrush handle and cord. It was a sophisticated and brutal weapon. The paintbrush belonged to Patsy, but the way it was fashioned suggests a level of planning that feels at odds with a spur-of-the-moment crime of passion. In 1999, a grand jury was convened to review the evidence. They voted to indict John and Patsy Ramsey on charges of child abuse resulting in death, but the district attorney at the time, Alex Hunter, declined to sign the indictment and prosecute. He cited a lack of sufficient evidence to secure a conviction. This decision was incredibly controversial and added another layer of mystery to the case. For many, it seemed like a failure of the justice system. The full indictment wasn't even made public until 2013. Tragically, Patsy Ramsey would never see justice for her daughter. She died of ovarian cancer in 2006, maintaining her innocence to the very end. 2 years later, in a stunning turn of events, the Boulder District Attorney's Office formally exonerated John and Patsy Ramsey. The decision was based on new touch DNA testing that confirmed the presence of an unknown male's DNA on JonBenét's clothing. The DA at the time, Mary Lacey, wrote a letter of apology to John Ramsey, stating that the evidence cleared the family. However, many in law enforcement and the public remain unconvinced, arguing that the DNA could have been transferred innocently and doesn't rule out family involvement. Even today, the case remains officially open. Every few years, there's a new development, a new book, a new documentary, a new round of DNA testing that reignites public interest. The story of JonBenét Ramsey has become a modern American myth, a dark fairy tale about a little princess in a big house, with a mystery at its heart that no one can solve. So who killed JonBenét Ramsey? Was it a parent, driven by a moment of rage or desperation, who then crafted an elaborate lie? Was it a jealous brother, whose childhood squabble had unimaginably tragic consequences? Or was it a shadowy intruder, a faceless predator who slipped into the house that night and was never seen again? After more than 2.5 decades, we are no closer to a definitive answer. The evidence is contradictory, the witnesses are gone, and the theories are endless. All that remains is the haunting image of a 6-year-old girl and a case that continues to captivate and disturb the nation. It stands as a chilling reminder that sometimes the most horrifying monsters aren't in stories, and the most painful questions are the ones that may never be answered. Thank you for watching. If you found this deep dive compelling, please like this video and subscribe to our channel for more explorations into history's greatest mysteries.